Hello, everybody, and welcome back to this mistake of a podcast. Today, we'll be talking about The Empire Strikes Back, just hailed by both critics and fans as not only one of the best Star Wars movies ever made, but one of the greatest movies ever made. You will always see this in top 3 best Star Wars movies of all time, and even on like list 100 best movies ever made, you'll always see this movie pop up in there. This movie has a gigantic reputation. And so today we'll be kind of talking about and giving our thoughts over 40 years later.
Didn't this one win the Rotten Tomatoes poll?
Oh yeah, this one also won the Rotten Tomatoes poll for best summer movie. Yeah, I mean it freaking should have won, and it did. So yeah, so we'll kind of do the same thing as we did last time, just kind of our first exposure to this movie. For me, I totally forget my first time watching this. I'm going to be completely honest. I was like 6 years old, but I really did enjoy it. I remember that. And as of today, it's one of my favorite movies of all time, possibly my favorite. But yeah, I don't really have a story because I totally forget my first time watching this.
My first time watching it,
for me.
I went straight from A New Hope to The Empire Strikes Back without any break at all. And I was just like exercising, watching A New Hope, and I'm like, let me just watch the next one. And I watched The Empire Strikes Back. And I was actually really impressed because it's a sequel, and there were almost no sequels at that time. Like they're almost all just like original movies, and a sequel of that quality is still pretty unprecedented today.
Back then, yeah, you're right.
True.
Yeah. My first experience watching the movie was, I think, like last week or like 2 weeks ago. So very recent. It was, I remember, very, I would watch it like late at night. So I would watch in little snippets, and like I would, I'd get really tired, I'd be like, all right, I have to go to bed. And then, like the next night, I couldn't wait to like watch it again. It was so good. It was so, how do you say it? Eye-catching.
Yeah, it's a very well shot movie.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So-
My first. Can I talk about my?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So, my first experience. I don't remember a lot of the specifics, but I just remember just like the anticipation and the excitement. Because for us, we only ever watched Star Wars on our birthdays. When we watched it for the first time.
For the first
So I was going straight off of A New Hope, waiting for an entire a full year before seeing the next one. So just teaming with.
I'm pretty
anticipation.
sure we watched the original trilogy when we were 6 years old. Like 4 was on our birthday, but I think we saw the other ones.
It was
not
it was
on
a
our
while
birthday.
after. No, we saw. Yeah, whatever. But but it was like a long time since I had seen the other movies. So like all that time of anticipation, and it just did not disappoint at all. And of course, we had to wait another bit of time after the.
I remember. I remember the first time that you watched it. I was 8 years old. Yeah. Sorry, I remember that actually. I don't remember my first time watching it, but I remember your first time watching it.
Interesting. All right, Ryan, how about you?
So with my first experience, I don't remember it at all because I was younger too. But it's an amazing movie when I watch it now. So
There we go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
Casey.
Yeah, so honestly, this was probably my favorite movie of the original trilogy. When I watched it, which obviously was kind of recent, it was like a couple months ago. When I first watched it, I don't know, the pacing seemed so like good compared to especially like A New Hope or anything like that. I don't have many complaints about A New Hope, but one thing would be like pacing maybe. And then
This movie's
pacing,
definitely faster paced. Yeah.
yeah, I just like it. I just like it a lot. I think that they really nailed the pacing. Again, like yeah, the camera work was awesome. The effects were great. I thought it was like perfecting A New Hope kind of.
Like when we were watching it the other yesterday, CJ, didn't you say like people complain about the pacing, but then like look at they got into a giant battle like 5 minutes in.
Yeah, I think that I mean like back then, especially in the 80s, this is one of the fastest paced movies around, and I still think the pacing is excellent. I've heard
Mhm.
people complain about the slow pacing of the originals, but I really don't think that applies to Empire. Maybe to Return of the Jedi and A New Hope to a certain extent, but not Empire.
In defense of the slow pacing of 4, it was the first film, so there's a lot more expository things. It was also the first one of the series, so they kind of were still finding their identity. So for the first one to be slow, it also did add to kind of the charm of the movie. I didn't think it was a huge problem, and I think 6 holds the same arguments, but 5 definitely sped things up, and it was a lot more action packed than the other 2.
Yeah,
Who hasn't gone yet?
it's
I think we're all
everybody.
good.
We all did? Okay.
Mhm.
So this movie is a lot of the time regarded as one of the best movies of all time, and especially a lot of the times best Star Wars movie of all time. Why do you guys think that is? The way I see it is because of how well written the characters are. This is probably the best writing in the entire saga, best dialogue, best character interactions, best development. Like they took Vader from like an 8 and then ramped him up to an 11 in this movie.
Seriously, yeah.
Yeah.
I think the best thing about the movie is that the dialogue is so organic. It
It's
seems
so
like
good.
that's what real people would say instead of
Yeah.
like some other movies, like the timing seemed a bit off. Like the say just doesn't seem quite right. But especially in Empire, it just seemed like everything is like so much more natural.
Yeah, I
Can I just say-
agree.
Han was amazing in this movie.
He
Yeah.
was.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
was.
He and Leia.
Him and Leia have some of the best back and forth dialogue in the entire series.
Yeah.
I like how
Yeah.
Leia was kind of elevated to kind of the same level as Han in this movie. And I think that it does have a bit more of a focus on Han. I think they both go back and forth of the spotlight. And I think they both at the same level, and their interactions are really good.
Well,
Yeah,
Han
Harrison
and Carrie
Ford
Fisher
and
both
Carrie
acted
Fisher.
brilliantly.
Yeah. It's like the same thing at the same time.
Yeah.
I think it's regarded as the best because I think it did improve upon some of the pacing issues, and there aren't many, but some of the pacing issues of 4. I think it's just better than 6, flat out. 6 is a good movie, but 5 is just a lot
Oh,
better
yeah.
in just the
Oh,
way that
yeah.
it presents itself. I think the dialogue is a lot better than 2 and 3, which is why I think
saying the dialogue is better than 2 is like saying, "Wow, this piece of food tastes so much better than that piece of dog dung I ate."
yeah,
That doesn't mean
Fodder.
much.
Yeah.
and I think that the dialogue in this is kind of what makes it better than Revenge of the Sith. Just a little bit. They both have really good plot, but I think that it's just a lot of the back and forth between characters, and I think also the way that Yoda explains the Force for the first time.
Oda.
Yeah.
Yoda, oh my
I
gosh,
enjoyed it
Yoda!
so.
I love
Yeah,
Yoda
I
in this movie
agree.
so much. Best
I
version
agree.
of Yoda in the series. He is hilarious, honestly.
I think
Yeah.
Yoda definitely is probably a top 3 character in Star Wars, like per period, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Between him and obviously the big Luke, I am your father reveal. Spoiler: if you haven't
Yeah.
seen this, it's been 40 years. What are you doing? Yeah, the I am your father reveal at the end just it set like shock waves into pop culture and just everything. It's just such an iconic moment that really kind of made this movie like at the peak of popularity because like stuff like that, the best moments in cinema history, and that just kind of still makes it so popular and so good.
I mean,
Yeah,
at the
I
time,
agree.
the hype for this movie was like off the charts because there wasn't any internet or anything like that. Like the only thing you knew was George Lucas is making another Star Wars movie. So this is coming out, and it blew everyone away because like I think Grady said, like it just basically ramped up what A New Hope did to another level. The I Am Your Father scene in particular, actually. Do you guys know what actually happened on set when that was going on?
Yes,
See,
I heard-
Lucas told David Prowse, who was in the Vader outfit, they did a dub James Earl Jones voiced over in post production. So he told David Prowse, in the script was him. He goes to Luke, "No, Obi-Wan killed your father," and then Luke goes like, "Oh my gosh, no!" So he said that. The only other person who knew that the real line was going to be "I am your father" was James Earl Jones and Mark Hamill right before the scene was shot.
Wow.
Oh my
Wow.
He
god.
only told
Oh
Mark
my-
Hamill about. So when like they did the screening of it before it was released to the public, even the cast and crew was completely shocked by that moment.
Wow.
That's
Oh.
Crazy.
You know, and
That's really
honestly,
cool.
the first
That
time I watched it, I already knew that Vader was Luke's father, which I kind of wish I didn't know. But
Right.
I was almost surprised by maybe the subtlety of the line. Like I was expecting like the big flashy reveal, but every time I watch it, it happens like a little like quicker and like less flashy than I thought would happen. Like he just kind of goes like, "No, I am your father," you know? And, like
Yeah.
right,
I
right after
I
that,
like
instead
that.
of
I like it.
And I think
"No,
the prequels and sequels would have handled that so much differently.
Mhm.
Particularly
Yeah, I
the
agree.
sequels where everything is like you said, a lot more flashy and in your face.
Yeah.
The prequels would have handled it and like dedicated its own scene to it. In the sequels did have an "I am your father" moment, but it was super cringy and was very underwhelming. So we're not going to talk about that here.
Yeah.
Not
Um,
yet."
Back to the Yoda topic. I was just gonna say I really like how they portrayed Yoda as like
Yes.
he is kind of like almost retired in a way, and he's more of like a hermit, almost like
Obi-Wan, how we see
almost
Obi-Wan in
yeah,
first one.
almost like Obi-Wan, except yeah, I really like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll talk about the Yoda scene later, but yeah, that's I think
we'll
all these
start with
things combined is what makes this movie age so well and become so popular.
Let's talk
Yeah.
about the Battle of Hoth because that's the beginning of the movie. So
Oh,
we open up with Imperial probe droids scouting Hoth, and we see Luke. You know, the whole Wampa scene. We have one of the most quotable lines: "I found them. I repeat, I found
I
them."
found
Which
them.
I think I quote that on like every day, basically. But that entire opening scene was so great because you right
Yeah.
off the bat see the power of the Empire, like putting its fist down and everything. The Empire
Yeah.
went from like a cool sci-fi military like force to like an actual force to be reckoned with. You really felt like the Empire was way more powerful in this movie than even in A New Hope when they
Right.
lost their like super weapon. You know, the
Mhm.
Empire was just so awesome in this movie. And
Right.
this movie introduced the what's it called? The Imperial March. We
Mhm.
gotta get like,
Yes.
come on.
yeah,
Another thing about the Empire is I think it's really impressive that the Empire is as intimidating or even more intimidating than it was in A New Hope, even though
Yeah.
they didn't have a literal planet-destroying machine. Like for them to stay that like that scary and that intimidating, even without the giant thing that can literally blow up planets, like
Mhm.
that is really, really well done by the writers and directors for that.
I
Yeah.
think
Yeah,
the
I-
reason
I
why they
agree.
were so threatening is because how first of all the Battle of Hoth, you saw the giant like mechs come and blow up everything.
With the
You know,
AT-AT,
you
yes.
see the shot of like the guy looking through his goggles and there's like a metallic like ship thing, and then you zoom out and see it's a giant walker.
Mhm. Which
That's one of the best
stop
shots in the
motion was
movie.
great on.
Yeah.
Oh, the stop
Directing in this-
motion is
directing in this
insane.
movie, the camera shots and everything it just seems so perfect.
Seriously, I agree.
Another reason why the Empire feels so threatening is because of the characters. They're after our characters and they feel super vulnerable. And I mean, this movie was super dark. Apparently, like back in the 80s, people were like pretty shocked the way it ended because most movies back then had like a conclusion, whereas this one was very much a cliffhanger.
It was
Well,
very
that's
open-ended.
one thing
Yeah.
I think that also made this movie such a hit, that people were like in such anticipation for 6 that they like probably people were watching it once it got on VHS over and over, and that probably made huge sales for 6 as well, just the end of this movie.
Mhm.
The
That's
Yeah.
film
true.
industry was very different than it is now. There was no streaming. I know every movie was a physical copy, and it was hard to come by and stuff like that. So
Back to the Hoth scene.
it's epic.
Yeah, so
Literally.
I don't know if you could call it dialogue because you can't understand Chewie, but like the conversation and the interaction between Chewie and Han is
the
amazing.
panic
Han-
that they're going through trying to get out of there.
Right.
So
Han-
funny.
I think it's amazing that Han is able to or not Mark Hamill, what's his name?
Harrison Ford.
Harrison Ford is able to deliver the lines with such like just so
Conviction.
genuinely, even though
Yeah.
the person he's talking to isn't actually speaking back to him, but he acts like he can hear and understand what he's saying. And I just
Yeah.
think he plays that role phenomenally. That goes for the first one and the 6th one as well.
You know that like the guy who played Chewie actually just spoke in English and stuff, and they just dubbed it over in post.
It's
Yeah.
scary, bro.
Just so it was easier for the whole cast to like respond. You know,
Right.
That
Yeah.
would just like
And
awkward
also,
having him like
um,
thrown at you and then just saying something back to him.
yeah, right. And also when they're all like evacuating and stuff, dialogue between Harrison Ford and Carrie Fisher, Han and Leia.
That was-
Would it help if I got on pushed? It might.
You
They're
scruffy
both-
looking nerf
they're both
herder.
just such stubborn people.
Seriously.
Yeah.
It just makes for great chemistry on the set, and it's a believable love story because of how reluctant she was and how aggressive Han obviously was because he's a scoundrel, you know.
And once again, this movie wouldn't have worked without the amazing writing.
Absolutely.
Like, this is easily not only one of the best written movies, but also probably the most quotable one next to Revenge of the Sith, probably.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
it's less meme quotes, but it's very, very quotable. Especially
I
like
agree.
everything Yoda says is quotable. Just take a piece of whatever Yoda says, copy, paste, boom, you have a quote that you can use on a daily basis.
talk about
Seriously.
talk about Dagobah and the training.
That is one of the best movie sets I've ever seen.
And that's actually none of that is like special effects. That was actually a set.
This one wasn't directed by Lucas, right?
Yeah, who's the director? Shoot, I can't remember his name. The DVD's over here. 1 second.
I got you.
Keep talking, guys. I'm just gonna go find my DVD.
I was just gonna say, like for people at the time that didn't really know the basics of like how Luke and Leia are twins, you know, I pictured like I was watching it and I kind of pictured like when Han and Leia kind of had their like love moments in a way. I just kind of pictured like how some people would be like kind of mad in a way because they'd be like pushing Luke and Leia, you know, like they're perfect for each other, you know.
Actually, that is actually a
Alright.
pretty interesting thing because at the time that it was released, no one actually knew that Luke and Leia were siblings. So there was like a competition kind of aspect.
I'm really glad, first of all, that they didn't like try to force that into the movie too much.
Yeah.
That would have just made it like really cringe. And another thing is I'm glad that they just kind of eradicated that whole storyline period when they revealed that they were twins. Because I think
Yeah.
that could have I don't think there's really any room for like romantic competition in Star Wars. That doesn't seem
Yeah.
It was also like not even a main talking point in this movie. At the beginning, Leia was honestly just messing with Han, just trying to get him mad. So, also, I found the DVD. It was directed by Irvin Kershner.
yes.
Yeah.
So good job, man. You directed one of the greatest
He
movies
passed
ever.
away in 2010, man. Rest in peace.
Oh,
Yeah.
he died?
Yeah,
Oh,
he
that
passed away in
sucks.
2010. Rest in peace, Carrie Fisher too.
Yeah.
Yes.
Anyway, back to Dagobah.
The training, like when Yoda is revealed, he just has some of the best dialogue ever.
I
Found
agree,
someone you
yes.
have, yes. You know, just starts going through Luke's stuff, grabs the flashlight, starts whacking R2D2.
Yeah.
And the whole time he's just testing Luke's patience. He gets to his husk, you know, he's inviting him over for dinner, gives him a bowl of, you know, whatever garbage he gives Luke.
5-alarm chili.
He just acts like a little drunk frog the entire time.
Drunk frog. Yeah.
And when he finally says, like, the boy has no patience, and like gets like he collects his composure, and he just feels so powerful and wizardy at that moment, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He's like a switch. He goes from like crazy to serious immediately.
Right, and he starts talking to Obi-Wan, and this is the first film that brings up Force ghosts and stuff like that. That's a really cool concept because we see him like disappear in 4. Like, well, where did he go? His body's in there, Vader's even like kicking around. Like, where did he go? We don't know. And then we see him even in the last scene after he's going away from the Wampa Pit, we see him, and that's super cool. He's like,
Yeah.
just thought that was a really cool idea. And then
Like-
obviously in 6, Yoda lead the way into the Force too. But yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is
Yeah.
actually the only scene I remember when I first watched it. Like, from back when I was like 7 or something. So,
And
The
then-
Yoda's teachings, like when he was with the whole X-wing coming out of the water and the Force thing. This really helped to build upon the Force. In Episode 4, it was just like this cool kind of power that was kind of alluded to, whereas in this one, Yoda really fleshed it out. Not only was it a telekinetic power, but he describes it as something that binds all living things together, flows through the galaxy with the beautiful music by John Williams in the background. Yoda just describes the Force, and it just gives me chills every time I watch it.
Oh yeah.
Luminous beings we are, not this crude matter. And it just puts to shame like Episode 1 where they're like the Force is midichlorians, they're bugs. In this movie, it's just like it's like they describe the universe as like one big organism and how the Force is bringing everything together, and they just do such a good job.
It's a really
movie.
philosophical and thoughtful way to think about it.
Yeah.
The first movie wasn't nearly as like philosophical in this one. Like they had like the whole like cave scene. That was all like implication imagery and stuff like that. They would have never like the first movie was much more fun and literal than this one. In this movie, they just lay a bunch of stuff on you.
Yeah.
Like, this movie is pretty dark if you think about it compared to Episode 4. The good guys are on the run all the time from the Empire. They're running out of gas the entire time. And then, no, they're not running out of gas. The Millennium Falcon's hyperdrive isn't working. I'm sorry. This is not Episode 8. Luke is, having inner struggles with the Force. He's learning from both Ben and Yoda. And finally, he has to confront Vader. It's so good. This movie is so good.
Yeah.
And with like Luke battling like his inner self, the scene where Luke
cave.
like the cave scene, holy crap, I love
Oh my
that.
gosh, yeah. I remember when I saw that for the first time. Oh my god, like he said, and like obviously I knew it was like vision or whatever, but he cut off like Vader's head in the cave or whatever, and like the thing blew open and it was his face, and I didn't really understand it the first time, but like I understand now, like that's like his fear, the tension and the terror from inside of him, dark side and stuff like that.
He's
Yeah,
afraid
and-
of becoming Vader.
Afraid of becoming Vader, and then later that's why like it just kills him, it just crushes him to find out that it's his father. That just,
Yeah.
this scene adds so much more weight to the end as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like Yoda telling him, he goes, "What's in there?" And Yoda just goes, "Only what you bring with you."
Mhm.
And it's like, wow, like looking back on that, and
So they dialogue, oh well, it's a cave that will show biggest fear or something. I'm not really, yeah. I mean,
Yoda's
handled
is
so well.
so well written. He's one of the best movie characters ever, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
I think that the Yoda in this movie is actually they actually do a really good job of building up to this Yoda in the prequels. Because in the prequels, even Yoda, who's like the Grand Master of the Jedi Order, who's trained Jedi for like 800 years, he's still kind of falling back on like combat and like strength in the Force, And I think once he fails to kill Palpatine and then he goes into exile, he little by little just kind of starts to abandon that mentality. And so that's like when he's full embraces the Force, like my ally is the Force, And I think
The
that
powerful
actually
ally
plays
it
really
is.
well. Yeah, plays really well off of that.
Absolutely. And
I really prefer Yoda in this movie in particular more so than the prequels, because in the prequels he just shows no emotion at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like
thing-
a very boring Yoda. Whereas in this movie, you have like the fun Yoda, and you also have like the serious Yoda. You just have with like all of his teachings: do or do not. There is no try. I don't understand. That is why you fail. Like all those amazing lines like that. Like you don't get any of that in the prequels.
Seriously,
one,
yeah.
one thing to say about the prequels, though, is I mentioned this about Obi-Wan too. Is you can tell like he's close. He's obviously close to death. He's like really old in this movie. He shows like glimpses of power, just like Obi-Wan. He has this quiet strength, and to see, but he doesn't get a lot of action. So yes, while I agree he's a better character in 5 and 6, being able to see him in action in the prequels was so
Yeah.
My dad told me that in the theaters, people went nuts when Yoda pulled out a lightsaber in Attack of the Clones.
I
But
bet.
even so, I think Yoda's best moment in the series is when Luke can't pull the X-wing out of the water. He starts walking away. Yoda just like closes his eyes. I'm guessing he was rolling his eyes up in his head, probably just annoyed by Luke. And he just like effortlessly pulls out of the water and like the score is in the background building it up, and it just
Oh yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
that is
I
such a
agree.
good scene. And then yeah, Luke goes, "I don't believe it," and Yoda goes, "That is why you fail." Just his mic drops. So yeah, Yoda's amazing. in
While
movie.
this is all going on as well, Han and Leia are obviously on the Falcon. They're
Oh,
very
see, this is an
good.
actually good B plot that adds to the story.
That's what their characters, and they're going through the asteroid field, and that's whatever. And
Dude, the asteroid field looks
And
so
they end up-
good. Even today, dude, they'll do that. Like, it looks so real.
Seriously, I know.
Like, it's
especially for
really,
the
really
effects
cool.
they had back then. But then the main part of their the plot is that they end up going to Cloud City. And they meet Lando, who's one of my favorite characters in the movie. He's
Yeah.
just
Love Lando.
gotta love Lando, bro. What
Imagine if he wasn't played by Billy D.
happened would have worked.
Can't remember that.
So he's similar to Han in some ways, but he's just so smug and he's so like what's
Han and
the-
Lando are the two sides to the same coin, basically.
Mhm.
so he's so charismatic and his character just feels so real.
Yeah.
The acting and writing for him is really good, and I think it was really good to have him resentfully give up Han and Leia because the Empire is kind of holding
You're kind
him
of cutting out, Josh, a little bit. Your audio's just kind of going off and on.
about that. Is this better?
Maybe. Just talk a little more, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, he betrays him to the Empire, and slowly Vader just kind of tightens his grip on the situation, doesn't give Lando much breathing room on what's going on. Vader chokes people, pun not intended, actually. And and then we get some amazing, very quotable quotes. I'm altering the deal. Pray I don't alter it
They
any
don't
further.
alter it any
This
further.
deal is getting worse over time. Yeah. So
And
that leads to eventually Lando switching sides, changing teams, and helping out the heroes and betraying Vader. Why does he always call him Han? Like, does that not like confuse you guys
I
as
don't
well?
know.
And that,
And then-
that happens
I don't know. I
throughout the
think-
series too.
Yeah. Well, it
Yeah,
kind of
he's a little
adds some charm to his
inconsistent, but-
character too, because he's like the only
Yeah.
one who says
Yeah,
that.
but even Leia called him Han one time.
Leia a couple times does, which is a weird thing
Which is-
about the movie, but we'll let it slide.
And I was just gonna say I really liked how Lando as a character really like you could tell how torn he was because like
Right. Because this
He-
is his life. He runs this operation thing. And he's
yeah
He
trying
wants to keep his
Right
mining
out of the
facility, but he also wants to help his friends. But he also wants to keep his lifestyle and not like harm anybody who lives on this planet. But the Empire is kind of going back on their promises. It's like,
yeah
what are you gonna do?
and like he's kind of saving his own life by like helping Vader and not like
and saving
Going
everybody, all
against
those
him.
people too, and making sure because like he probably makes a lot of money off of the operation they have going there.
yeah
Mining gas. How do you mine gas?
Yeah.
and you could tell like through his expressions and stuff like when Han's getting what's it like carbon frozen or whatever
Carbonite.
Frozen carbonate.
yeah you could tell he was like really like oh god like what am I doing.
And something I didn't catch about the carbon freezing as well is when I was little, I thought Darth Vader was just being a jerk. I didn't realize he was preparing it for Luke.
Yeah.
He was
me
testing it
too.
to make sure that Luke wouldn't die, so we can bring him to the Empire. Not the Empire, the Emperor. He's gonna
Yeah,
bring
it
Luke to the
was-
Empire. Yeah.
It was a test.
It was a test run just to make sure it would not kill him, but it would make
Yeah.
him easier to transport to the Emperor. So I mean,
Yeah.
Let's
should
talk
be like
about
Ray.
the
be like Ray,
confrontation.
put yourself in carbon and send yourself over there.
Let's talk about the confrontation between Luke and Vader. So I've always argued this is one of the best duels in the series just because of the characters. You can tell the entire time Vader's just messing with him. He's not trying at all. He just is sloppy and just toying with him, throwing things at Luke, just to
Yeah.
mess with him.
Yeah.
Just because Luke is like on such a low level compared to Vader. Like you just can tell that Vader's just so many leagues above Luke in this like,
Yeah.
both the Force and lightsaber combat.
Wouldn't it be super dumb if the main character just completely beat the bad guy in like the first film that they fought? Wouldn't that be really stupid?
Yeah, that would kind of render the next
I think
two
this
movies
trilogy
completely
really
useless.
illustrates how Lucas had a vision,
Yes.
and that's like what he was doing. And
Wait, you're
I think
telling
some
me
of-
that you want a trilogy to actually have a roadmap and a plan? Dude,
Wow.
that was a
I don't know, I guess
revolutionary
not.
idea. I've never heard of that before. Casey, you're a
So-
genius.
It's just you could just tell by watching like any movie from Empire, but like any movie, you could just tell set it up for success in each movie. Whereas
Yeah.
like in sorry Ryan, in the sequels, like
Bro, come
each
on.
movie just seems like a completely different thing. It's like what? But
Well, see, in
doesn't
this
seem
case, they didn't
cohesive.
change what the directors actually were like, all right, we're
Oh.
going to do this, and this is going to lead up to this, and this is how it's going to pay off. It's like, that's
Yeah.
how you write a good story.
And also on the Luke and Vader fight, the setting where it happened was a perfect place for
It's really
the
fun,
for
too.
the movement of the fight, and like for Vader to like have stuff to throw at Luke and stuff. It was a perfect
It's a really
setting.
cool setting.
One thing I always liked in like fights in movies, shows, etc., is when the location actually plays a part in the
I
fight.
agree.
I was
Yes.
super annoyed by those kind of movies where like it could have happened anywhere, where it's just like a place, like an arena, essentially.
There's a purpose of them being there too, because Vader's trying to carbon freeze Luke,
Mhm.
Yeah.
and he's like playing mind games with him at the same time. Like a little bit of dialogue in between. You are not yet a Jedi, stuff like that. Just things that Vader says to like taunt Luke or to tempt
Yeah,
the dark
I
side.
think that that's also something else that makes the fight so great is like it's almost like just like little confrontations and then like pause for dialogue. Like it's like Vader's just kind of like toying with Luke, physically pause. Vader toys with Luke mentally. Vader
Luke-
toys
But it's
with
not like a
Luke physically.
jarring transition. It works really smoothly, I think.
You can tell though,
Yeah.
Luke fully walks into that fight wanting to kill Vader. Like he wants Vader to be dead.
Yeah.
Vader doesn't want to kill Luke and just isn't trying. It just shows how much he's at a higher level than Luke, and it shows
Mhm.
Luke. He's also allowing Luke's, and he's not ending off Luke almost immediately because he's starting to utilize his anger. I think that's part of the things that Vader.
Yeah.
I think at the end too,
True.
when he cuts off his hand and stuff like that, and really forces him. First of all, the reveal is the best twist in movie history. First of all, but also the point where Luke just looks down and falls off the thing. I'm pretty sure in one of the special editions, I think they added like a scream or something. I don't remember, but that kind of ruins the point. The point was Luke was killing himself. He was giving up.
Yeah.
He was like, I'd rather just jump down this thing and splat on the ground.
Like whatever happens, yeah.
Yeah.
And he just like, this is one of my gripes with the movie. It was super convenient. He happened to hop in one of those little holes that like, ooh, we can slide. It was a little bit too convenient, but it's whatever. Also, couldn't Vader just like, as he was falling, just like suspend him in midair and float him upwards?
The thing about it is the Force wasn't nearly as developed at this point. It was obviously really fleshed out with Yoda, but a lot of the different like flashier abilities weren't really developed until the prequels, and then the sequels just went crazy.
Yeah.
Bruh.
But to your point,
Yeah, I know what you mean. But and then at least at the end of the movie, and we'll just talk about the end, and then we'll just kind of talk about other stuff from there. So at the very end, like this is such a different contrast from 4. So this is how you set up a sequel. All right, guys, this is how you make a good middle movie. So the first movie ends with Luke getting a medal, the good guys winning, and everyone having a happy time. Empire Strikes Back ends with Han in Carbonite Chamber going with a mercenary off to who knows where. Luke gets his hand cut off and finds out that the fascist leader of the Empire is his father. And yeah, that's the end of the movie.
right?
It's not happy. It's very much a cliffhanger, and it shocked everybody back in 1980. Like, what? That was the end? Like,
Yeah.
with like
What?
3 more years for sequel. It's like such a contrast between the first one and the second one.
Yeah.
And I think they did it really well. Like, that's just. I mean, personally, as a kid, I was just able to. I knew that 6 existed, and at any point I could pop in a DVD and it would work. But back then, you had to wait, and no one saw how dark this movie was coming.
And
Kind
this-
of like Infinity War and Endgame.
I saw it
Yeah.
coming. I saw it coming. Not gonna lie, because they
Yeah.
announced they're making an Avengers 4. I'm like, oh, so like Thanos, they're gonna fight him there too. Yeah. I don't know.
I'm more talking about like having to wait
Oh yeah, yeah.
a few years for the sequel.
this is before the internet. You couldn't just pop on some film theory and just check out different fan theories and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You had to like bring like obviously like fan theories weren't a thing back then.
You
Like
have to.
there's not really a platform as much for people to share those, and so there's so much anticipation. There were really no expectations almost for it, just a lot of anticipation. And that's probably why.
You're kind of cutting in and out again.
Okay, anyway, yeah, whatever.
I know we got what you said though. Yeah. Another thing I thought was really cool was when they were introducing the bounty hunters. Vader walks by Boba Fett and goes, "No disintegration this time." Darth Vader singles out Boba Fett. Let that sink in. Let that sink in. All right.
He doesn't have a lot of lines or even a big role in the movies, but like stuff like that makes him just one of the coolest characters.
It's like if Vader acknowledges you like that, it's like, uh-oh, this guy might be bad. You know.
Yeah.
Oh, speaking of Vader, he's awesome in this movie. He kills everyone.
Yeah.
Like
Beautifully.
you can just see
The
the
guy who-
fear on his admirals' faces. They mess up. Like at the beginning of the movie, when they entered into the ship and enter into the not the ship, the Hoth system too early, and so the rebels can see them coming. Vader just calls him. He's like, "You failed me for the last time." He's like just like choking him through the screen. And he's like, "Oh yeah, by the way, you're in charge now. Don't mess up."
This movie
Yeah.
was PG.
Yeah. Vader is literally the guy who is cool.
Yeah.
The guy
That
who's
is
cool
cool,
be
guys.
And
like,
And also, when it showed Vader force choking the guy through the screen, it just showed how much power
Yeah.
he had, and like with the force, and how like, oh man, like Luke's in for a heaping helping of trouble, you know.
Yeah.
I like all the the Imperial workers like reactions. He's walking down the bridge of the ship, and all the workers are like looking up at him as he goes by and stuff like that. All the admirals are just like super intimidated by his presence and stuff like that. He chokes
Yeah.
out like 8 of them. At the very end of the movie, when he's like watching Luke go away, and the guys are realize like, oh wait, we just failed at catching that ship with Luke, Han, Leia, Chewie in him, right? And so the Vader just like silently turns around and walks back, and everyone's like white faced, and they just look at him. And as soon as he passes, they turn around and look at him. It was just a really kind of comical scene, not comical, but like it was kind of funny because they were all just
Yeah.
like, freaked out by Vader. Like, did he just not
We
kill
talked
one of
about
us?
this a
Is
little
something
bit.
wrong?
Yeah.
Talked about a little bit in the last episode on Vader's atmosphere in the first one, but it is just multiplied by 1,000 in episode 5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Literally, he just kills anybody that's like messing with him, and the way everybody around him reacts literally has an atmosphere. Like people around him reacting so strongly just to his existence. You can see he's so incredibly intimidating. He doesn't have to say a word. He's just there.
and I think that some of that also builds to the power of Palpatine, because you see how all of the Imperial officers are reacting to Vader and how they're all afraid of Vader, and then you see Vader kneel to Palpatine, and it's like, how this
Yeah.
guy must be super,
Hey.
super.
Palpatine is
Big boy in charge.
Fun fact: Ian McDiarmid wasn't in the original cut of Empire Strikes Back. It was some other guy, and in like the remastered editions, they put Ian McDiarmid in there. Go look up the original guy because he looks pretty bad. Like I'm really glad they put Ian McDiarmid in there. The guy looks like his eyes are just like super black and concave, and he's pretty gross looking. So yeah. Thank you for putting Ian McDiarmid in.
the Emperor. Like to your point, yes, the Emperor like being Vader bowing down to him, like, and you don't get to see him a lot in this movie. Just hinted and teased. He's saying that he's going to bring Luke back to the Emperor and stuff like that. You don't actually get to see him, and that also adds a lot to the anticipation for the next film.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
where does this movie rank on your guys' list of all the mainline Star Wars movies 1 through 9? For me, this is number 1. This is my favorite out of the 9.
Great question, CJ. I would say probably number 1 or a very close second to Revenge of the Sith. Like Peyton said before, I feel like the just certain things about it brings it barely above Revenge of the Sith.
There are certain things that I think are better. I think the dialogue is overall better. I think that there's less plot holes and stuff like that. Just little things like that, mostly.
And for that reason, it's number one on my list as well. Luke's character just gets fleshed out so much more in this movie. He goes through so much adversity, so much, which is less than I could say for Rey.
So even Anakin.
Even Anakin. Well, he loses his mother, to be fair.
I mean, yeah, Anakin goes through a lot of crap. I feel like that Luke's journey was more believable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Luke's character is just so much more fleshed out, and then Han, one of my favorite characters in Star Wars. He was my favorite part of the sequels. Han's character, Leia's, obviously C-3PO and R2 are always a positive. Yeah, it's my favorite movie all around.
It's definitely 1 or 2 on my list, but yeah, if it's 2, it's a very close second. It's just an amazing movie. So.
Gotcha. All right, who's next?
Yeah, I'd have to say probably like 2, maybe 2 or 3, like close third.
Gotcha.
Number 1 for me, I think. Revenge of the Sith is a fantastic movie, and I absolutely love it. But I think Empire just has certain things that just put it just a little bit above it, and also I think Empire is a little bit more rewatchable, because I love Revenge of the Sith. It's a great movie, but I've watched Empire like 4 times in the past week, and I still haven't gotten tired of it. So that just shows how good of a movie it is.
It is really watchable. I will say though that for me personally, one of the cons for this movie is that I feel like I have to be in a certain mood to watch it. You know, whereas
Yeah.
I mean, it's probably a personal thing. This probably doesn't apply to the rest of you, but like I feel like I can watch like Han and a solo story, whatever it's called, solo a Star Wars story, A New Hope. Like those ones, I feel like I can just watch those 2 movies just anytime, just kind of pop it in. But with Empire, I feel like I have to be in a certain mood, kind of mood to watch it.
I feel that way about like Ryan was talking earlier about Avengers or Peyton, I think, and same thing with like Lord of the Rings. It's just such like an epic movie. I feel like I have to give my full attention to it, just because it's just an epic movie altogether, and
You cut out again. We didn't hear what you said.
I just said it's such an epic movie all around, and it just requires your full attention when you're watching.
Yeah, I
For me-
agree.
Oh, go ahead, Grady.
I was just gonna say, notice how the 2 first original trilogy movies are in most of, if not all of our top 3 or 4 Star
Yeah.
Wars movies.
I think that especially this movie just knocks everything out of the park.
Yeah, I agree.
Amazing characters, fantastic writing, awesome cinematography, awesome sets, great dialogue, epic story, really good place in the trilogy. It just nails everything, this movie is like I think I previously mentioned, just kind of goes up with movies like Fellowship of the Ring or like The Matrix or something, where it's like it's close to perfection as you can get to a movie that you can without actually being perfect,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's just my opinion, though. Maybe I'm hype. Maybe that's I'm hyperbolizing it. I'm not speaking correct words today, so you guys can go ahead.
Hyperbolizing.
As for how this movie holds up today, I don't know if you were planning on talking about that, but I feel like it doesn't hold up as much as it probably was back then. It's just such a perfect movie, and everything about it is so timeless. Obviously, some of the we were watching, we were talking about how some of the effects for the tauntauns and stuff looked a little bit.
Except for the tauntauns and has 30 seconds of screen time, so who cares?
That doesn't really take away from the movie. And obviously the reveal, like Peyton was talking about, how we already kind of knew Vader, like that's just kind of been like embedded into pop, like into culture in general.
Yeah, this is why I want to shelter my kids from Star Wars, so then they actually get the "I am your father" moment.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
True.
speaking of, this is actually one of my biggest talking points when I advocate for watching the originals first. You don't get the "I am your father" moment if you watch the prequels first.
Yeah.
There we go. That's my argument.
True.
Good day, sir. This is the end of the podcast. Thank you guys for joining in. Anyone
Two
else have
people
like?
watching.
I-
For the
Yeah,
two
yeah.
people
Last time we
watching.
predicted 1.5 people watching, and we got like 40 views. So I'm gonna shoot big. I hope 2 people are watching this. Yeah.
Yo, reach for the
Yo,
stars, ladies and gentlemen.
TJ.
See, I thought that
Maybe
I
like
would definitely
2
watch
aren't
it,
too
and then
bad.
like maybe Ryan would watch it, and that's about it. You
Yeah.
know, none of you guys are gonna watch it. Maybe Ryan though.
Yeah, my dad actually watched it, so
Yeah.
I
Cool.
watched it.
Anyway,
Can we talk about the score?
absolutely,
yeah.
we can talk
Oh,
about this.
So
Mm,
while my
sure,
favorite score in
please.
the series is still episode 4, I will say Empire Strikes Back has a better score.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's not my favorite, but I think it's one of the best in the series by far. Yoda's theme is beautiful. It's awesome. The asteroid the dun 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 dun, dun is like so iconic and stuff.
Goes so well with like what's happening in the movie.
One thing
Music
I
in
also
Cloud
want to
City.
mention is right before the assault on base on Hoth, there's just this back and forth between the Rebels theme and then the Empire theme, Vader's theme. They're increasing speed and then they just alternate back and forth, and it just adds so much tension to the moment. There's not a whole
Yeah.
lot of dialogue like right before they're ready to start fighting, but that it just makes it such an intense scene with those two batting at each other back and forth, going just faster.
Yeah.
Also, I think Josh said that this score introduced Imperial March,
Yes, he
which
just said
is
that. Yeah.
now probably the most iconic
Absolutely.
musical
Yeah.
piece in a Star
If
Wars movie.
if you go to like a Cavs game, they play if the other team fouls somebody hard on our team, they'll play the Imperial March in the arena. Like it's just a thing that's been embedded like into culture, and
It's one of the most
Just
famous movie songs of all time. Like just period. Like
Yeah.
it's probably more recognizable than the main theme.
Yeah.
might be
Like,
true.
let's be real here.
yeah.
Now that theme really added to the whole like weight of the Empire. You see the big fleet and you hear dun 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 dun,
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 dun, dun,
and like
dun.
and like this giant fleet of like Imperials.
Something I want to say about the giant fleet: the Super Star Destroyer just looks amazing. It just looks so sweet.
You kids remember that the Star Destroyers from the first movie? Well, look at it now. It's like 80 Star Destroyers combined.
Top
On
of it looks like a
steroids.
city. Yeah,
Literally on
the top of it looks like a
steroids.
city, and it's a really simplistic design as well, which is something I think that was kind of lacking in the sequels, and the is the kind of the simplistic but like is still really like clean design of the Star Destroyers, like dreadnoughts and stuff like that had like all this intricate stuff, and obviously everything in the prequels was shiny. It just looks so slick and intimidating. It was awesome.
Oh, yeah, you bring up the ship design of like the slickness and stuff. The Rebel ship design I always like because it looked like rugged and war torn. It kind of looked like the whole "what's old is new" type of vibe. Whereas like in the prequels, like like you said, everything was super shiny. With all the Rebel stuff, everything's beat up. You can tell it's been shot before. There's scratches everywhere. You really feel like this is like a Rebel force who's like taking everything they can to fight against the superior force, which is the government in the galaxy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want a recut of episode 4 where the rebel ship comes, then the Star Destroyer, then the Super Star Destroyer with Qui-Gon in the background saying there's always a bigger fish. I want a recut.
I was like something in my YouTube recommendations was like the biggest fish in the ocean, and I'm like, nope.
There's always
There's
a bigger
always-
There's
bigger
always a
fish.
bigger fish.
Oh man, I lost my train of thought. I was gonna mention something, and then you guys made me tell the joke.
prequels being memes are distracting.
No, I wasn't gonna talk about the prequels. Oh yeah, who's your favorite character in this movie? You talked about this before. My favorite character in this movie is Yoda. Close seconds would be Luke and Vader, but yeah, Yoda's my favorite character in Empire Strikes Back.
really difficult to choose because on one hand, like Luke is just gets fleshed out and his character develops so much in this movie. Vader is so much more intimidating. Han is obvious. This might be my favorite movie for Han. Han is one of my favorite characters. And
It's
Leia
probably
is
the best. Yeah, this is like I think this is Han and Leia's best movie.
I'm not
I agree,
I'm not
man.
really sure if I can decide one favorite character. I mean, I'll probably have to give it to Yoda. Just because he's one of my favorite characters in Star Wars, period. But Han, main characters are really good, and Lando is too. They're just all really good characters. It's not really.
There's no bad characters. There's no useless characters that are there just for the sake of being there. You know?
Yeah.
Jar Jar.
No,
My
Actually,
favorite-
technically, Jar Jar is what causes the downfall of the Jedi Order.
That is, yeah. You know
We'll
what, I
talk
take
about that
back.
in the Attack of the Clones episode.
Jar Jar's a
We'll talk
Sith.
about why Jar Jar is a Sith on the next episode.
Jar Jar
My-
Yeah, so what about you
my-
guys? Yeah.
My personal favorite character in this movie is probably Leia. Like, if you talk about the biggest jumps from kind of basic character to a really, really important character with great dialogue, I think Leia makes the biggest jump from 4. Because in 4, you know, she was just kind of like, I mean, yeah, she was an important part of it, but in 5, her dialogue is so much better. And you really get the sense that she is like a leader of the Rebel Alliance. Like she's coordinating the evacuation from Hoth. You know, she's
But
Yeah,
she's
she
fighting
feels like in
alongside Leia.
charge. She's really got like upgraded from supporting character to main character.
Yeah.
She's
Yeah.
great in this movie, and she's good. She's really good in the next movie too. We'll talk about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
My
Alright.
favorite character is definitely Vader. Like
Yeah,
Yeah.
man.
like
Vader.
he's just a bad dude.
He's a bad mamma jamma.
Bad butt.
You can tell like the fear in those admirals' eyes when they go, "I will take full responsibility for this. I will inform Vader immediately."
I will apologize. Do you
I'll
think that's a
That
good
was,
idea?
that was their way of saying goodbye.
They're like,
Yeah.
oh boy.
Oh, I'll apologize to Lord Vader. Tell
One of
my
my
wife I love
favorite
her.
scenes in the movie. One of my favorite scenes in the movie when Vader is choking that guy out, and the other guy is pretending not to notice, so Vader doesn't get like angry at him. He's just
Yeah.
subtly looking over, but he doesn't want to acknowledge. It. Just
Your mom is yelling at your brother, but you don't want to look at him.
This is a question, Ryan. What's your favorite Vader quote in this movie? Because if you're a Vader fan, you gotta have a favorite Vader quote.
I mean, it's really no question. It's definitely "I am your father."
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, like,
I mean,
definitely a question.
I think my favorite is my favorite line for Vader is probably "I'm altering the deal, pray don't alter it." It's a good line.
Yeah.
My
love
favorite
that.
Vader line is I want that ship, not excuses.
It's a good line. Oh, another good line from Vader. Perhaps you think you're being treated unfairly, and that immediately puts Lando back in his place, and he's like terrified. Yeah,
He's like,
he
no.
just
Yeah.
disagrees to whatever Vader wants because he knows he'll be dead either if he
See,
doesn't.
That was a really cool line because it almost
Yeah.
made Vader like a almost like a school bully, like making you say like no, I don't feel like I'm being treated unfairly. You know, like
yeah.
he-
Yeah.
like I said this before. He's a bad mamma jamma.
Agreement.
He's a
All right,
bad
who's next? Favorite characters. We kind of went on a tangent there with Vader, but he deserves it.
What's good swing?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest with you. My favorite character in this movie is probably Han. I feel like his
Yeah.
dialogue is just so good. Like I was laughing out loud, which I have not at Star Wars like in any other movie, basically.
Yeah, Han is a
Except
legitimate.
when I'm laughing at Jar Jar.
Dude, I legit I put on the Phantom Menace last year for the first time in a couple years. But as soon as Jar Jar said Misa Jar Jar Binks, I just started hilariously just like laughing out loud for all of the
Jar
wrong
Jar
reasons.
I know. You can't.
Yeah,
not.
Han is a different kind of funny though because Han's line like "laugh it up, fuzzball,"
Who's
Ew.
scruffy looking?
scruffy looking.
Hop in, let's go find the funny.
Hop in, let's go find the funny.
We did find it funny. Han is legitimately hilarious in this movie just because his character, he just doesn't give a crap. He's still the same kind of rugged, like Leia says, scoundrel. But you can tell he actually has morals in this movie.
Yeah.
His character fundamentally stays the same. He doesn't just do a complete 180.
Yeah.
Casey, do you have like a favorite Han moment? Because there's a lot of those good ones in here.
Yeah, honestly, I'm gonna say the most memorable moment for me. I was probably on the floor for like 2 minutes. It was
Floor gang.
he's about to be frozen in carbide, and Leia's like, "I love you," and he's like, "I know." Like I just found it
That's
so
just
funny.
so Han.
It's
Like,
That
so
I
line
know.
is just.
And then
it
she
sounds like
returns
something
it in
from-
episode 8 too.
Yeah, yeah.
Episode 8?
No, in 6. My bad, dude.
How dare you?
Han is in
mention-
fact
My favorite part of episode 8 was
Episode
the
5
interactions
review.
between Han and Leia.
Yeah, that was my favorite.
Bruh.
How dare you, in an episode 5 review, mention episode 8? Why?
How dare you
Dude,
say that?
we were watching episode 8 not episode 8. We were watching episode 5 last night, and Josh kept like bringing up the sequels, and I'm like, shut up, let's just enjoy this
I
movie.
know.
Sequels
Yeah.
have ruined everything for me. If there are sequels fans
Josh,
watching this,
Josh,
I
the se-
apologize, but your series, your trilogy,
Josh, the sequels aren't real. They can't hurt you. Okay, it's gonna be okay.
the series ended with 6. The series ended with 6.
Josh,
It's
it's gonna
like-
be. Josh needs grief
Fans,
counseling.
I apologize for their. Yeah.
It's like it's in the list of the 3 fake things: Gingers, Canada, and the sequels.
If
There's
there were
no
any
gingers,
ginger
there's no
Canadians
Canada,
watching
and
this
there's no
video, I
sequels.
apologize.
Ginger Canadians.
Yeah, you know,
I'm
there's
very
one
sorry,
guy who's
you're
like a
fake.
hardcore like sequels fan who's a ginger that lives in Canada.
Yo.
A sequel loving
They're
ginger
500% fake.
Yeah.
Canadian. I'm sorry.
I'm
All
sorry,
right,
but your existence is not here.
Who else did we not get to for favorite characters in Empire?
My
Who's your
favorite character is either Han or Darth Vader.
Yeah, those are. Can't really go wrong with any character. Like any character that has dialogue, like a major role in this movie, you can't go wrong. All of them are so
Yeah.
good.
I mean, if someone said Captain Pyatt is my favorite character, I'd be like,
Okay.
all right. He has about 2 minutes of screen time and dies like immediately, but Cool.
Man, you know,
Whatever.
in the last episode, I said that Tarkin was my favorite character. In episode 4, no, it's Porkins. I
Porkins. Freaking love.
I
Yeah,
know.
Porkins.
He taught us how to be a better person. His dialogue was so fantastic in that movie.
Porkins
it-
caused and saved my marriage.
then
I
he
picture that as a
destroyed
YouTube video. Like,
because she went to Porkins.
Guys, yeah, let's get together and make a video called Porkins caused and saved my
save
marriage.
my.
I'm not even kidding.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's.
Okay, CJ, who's your favorite character?
I already said Yoda. I'm a Yoda man all the way in this movie. He's hilarious. He's awesome. He drops a lot of bombs, metaphorically, not literally. He doesn't bomb anything. He's not a war. Yoda is not a war criminal until Revenge of the Sith. All right,
So-
but he just has some of the best written lines I've ever seen in the movie. He even rivals Gandalf from Fellowship with his amazing like wisdom quotes and stuff like that. It's just like
Yes.
I get chills every time I see those scenes where he's talking to Luke. He's so,
Yeah.
like he makes me laugh and he makes me think, and that's the most I can ask out of a character like Yoda.
Out of all those iconic lines, what would you say is your favorite?
Shoots. Oh, that's so hard. Favorite line from Yoda. A couple. Let's see. One of them obviously do or do not. There is no try. But I think that my favorite quote from Yoda is when he's describing the force. Like, you must feel it around you. It binds us, penetrates us. It's in the water. It's in all of us. I forget the exact quote. I'm butchering it probably, but when he's describing the force and how it's in all living things, like that is my favorite quote from Yoda probably.
This is kind of an underrated one in my opinion. This might be an unpopular opinion. One of my favorite Yoda quotes is "Wars do not make one great." When Luke is talking, this is when he's still crazy Yoda. Luke is like, "I'm looking for a great warrior," and Yoda's like, "Wars do not make one great." I think that's a really good line as well because that's when he's still kind of messing with Luke too.
Yeah, and then Luke was like, "Yeah, whatever, man."
Whatever, man.
I'm looking for someone. Found someone you have. Yes. A great war.
Always focus on the horizon,
Um,
never his mind on where he was.
I would give this movie a 0 out of 10. Not enough alien
enough pork
drinking
muscle.
out of their milk. No alien milk in this one. Disappointed. Luke suck the juices out of any animals. 0 out of 10.
Josh, come on. We gotta wait for the episode 8 to like completely dissect that scene.
Oh my gosh, the
I think
episode
that
8 one
deserves 10
is just
podcast.
gonna be us, like just absolutely going off on tangents, and then Ryan trying to defend it.
It's like when you're playing Nazi zombies from
I'm
Call
sorry,
of Duty,
Ryan.
and
I
we're all like the
apologize.
zombies, and Ryan's gotta like fend off against the horde.
Yes.
Bro.
Cannot
little bit
stop
bad.
us.
But not that much.
Yeah, we'll put it on easy mode. Actually, no, like the sequels ones. We don't want any of these to be arguments. These are gonna be discussions.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
when going into these, we're not gonna try to change anyone's mind. We're just gonna try to talk about why we think of things.
Yeah, we were talking about episode 5. That's right.
We are
Oh, yeah,
members of the
episode 5.
Imperial Senate on a diplomatic mission to Alderaan.
Call an ambulance, but not for me.
So, do you guys have any other like talking points you want to go through? Is there a scene you guys want to talk about? A character, a moment, maybe like the legacy of this movie?
I just want to say, probably one of my favorite moments in this movie was after the cave scene, like when Luke was like, "Whoa," like this is what I'm really scared of, and then it just shows Yoda. He just like closes his eyes and like starts shaking his head, like,
This child. One of my favorite scenes was the evacuation scene from Hoth.
Yeah.
Because I thought it was super realistic, honestly.
It feels
Like,
real, because like everyone is involved. It's not just like Luke this time around.
I know,
Yeah.
and it makes sense.
yeah.
There's an Imperial blockade, and they fire a few shots with the ion cannon, and then send some ships through. My only problem with that scene is like, there's no way the Empire blockaded the entire planet's airspace.
To be fair, in order for them to
Like,
get
you couldn't
around,
go
they would have
anywhere
to go
else,
through
but
their fleet.
That's one of my only major gripes with this movie. That and the conveniently placed shaft.
Actually, my other gripe for this movie that I want to talk about was they don't really explain very well how long A, Luke has been on Dagobah, and B,
Yeah.
Han, Leia, and Chewie have been on Bespin. Because it's implied that Luke has been on Dagobah for a while, but Han and Leia have only been on Bespin for at most a day and a half.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of like in The Last Jedi, where it's like I hate to compare a flaw in this to a flaw in The Last Jedi, but it was like Rey training with Luke. It's been 3 days, and then it's like when like 5 minutes ago they're like, we're running out of fuel. We only have like 5 hours left.
Yeah, it's the same thing. It's like I was always confused by that in Empire. Like I think that's like one of the major plot holes in this movie. But see, this movie makes up for that by being really good.
You know how to make up for a plot hole? Be a good movie.
Be a good.
The thing is also, if Dagobah is far enough away, obviously time is relative, so time could be very different in the different places they're at. Like, it still isn't super cohesive when it comes to the story, but there's.
I'll tell you firsthand, Star Wars has never, ever, ever paid attention to the laws of time dilation. People have gone through in like near black holes and like some Star Wars media. Nothing's happened. People have gone on light speed, no time dilation. I wouldn't bet anything that would work in this. Sorry.
We're just talking about like little specks of dirt on ultimately a giant polished diamond. Do you feel me?
I mean, yeah,
True.
this plot hole doesn't bother me too much. It's just like, yeah, that's kind of odd. Maybe they could have explained that better. But yeah, I'd still give this movie an A+, 10 out of 10, 3 children, all that stuff.
When was that ever even said by anybody? 3 children. What is 3 children? Never mind.
It's just a reference to
10 out of 10.
Oh,
It's the equivalent
okay.
to a 10 out of 10, dude.
Yeah, okay, that's good. No,
It's a
4
reference to
children.
something.
4 children.
Jedi business, get back to drinks.
Go back to your drinks.
Yeah.
5 children.
Yeah, is there anything else you guys wanted to talk about? Because we
I feel like the dialogue in this episode of our podcast was akin to
we've
the
been
dialogue in
we've been doing this for about 50
episode 5.
minutes.
It's more organic. It feels more natural compared to the first movie or episode where it felt a little more scripted. Not that it felt scripted in the first episode.
comparing our
I thought the first one was a little more organized. Maybe
Yeah.
the next one will make a little more organized too. But I think Ryan, were you going to say something?
No.
Oh, okay.
Plus, there's more comedy in this one.
Oh yeah, this movie's actually like pretty funny. Like even more funny than episode 4. Like
Yeah.
there's a lot of really good jokes in this one.
It's not
Especially
forced on you though. It's like it's not. You're not like supposed to be like inside of the movie. It's not supposed to be funny, but you as an audience find like stuff like that Han says it's funny, whereas in the heat of the moment for them, it's not the same way. Like I don't know, they're not forcing funny on you. You don't have to hop in and find the funny.
Yeah.
Exactly. The funny is right there for you to see.
Yeah. You
Can
don't
do
have
it.
to work to find the funny.
I still laugh every time I watch Yoda in this movie. He's so. I know I've mentioned how funny Yoda is like 80 times in this, but it's
Perfect.
Hey CJ, is Yoda funny?
nah, he was okay. I thought he was a bit boring. I don't really like The Empire Strikes Back. It's not a very good movie.
Um,
I agree, CJ.
for the comedy as well, is the lines that are funny don't completely lean on the comedy. Because the lines that are
Yeah.
funny can also be interpreted in different ways, like they're deep ways or serious to the story. So I think
Like,
it doesn't use the comedy as a crutch to carry the plot along when there is comedy, but there is some funny moments.
Yeah, that's
yeah.
true.
Yeah.
Like an example, Laugh It Up Fuzzball. It's funny, but
He's
if you
trying to
really
shut
think
up
about
over
it, Chewbacca is a fuzzball, and that really pushes the plot forward.
Hi guys,
Because-
Peter Griffin here to explain the joke.
What?
He's a Wookiee, and Wookiees have copious amounts of hair on their body, before compared to a fuzzball. And he was laughing at Han, and Han didn't like that very much. He sarcastically said, "Laugh it up, fuzzball." There you go. The
When-
in-depth
explanation.
analyzation of the joke.
I finally understand it now.
You've opened my eyes.
More an educational podcast.
Yes.
Hey, don't go to Neil deGrasse Tyson's podcast. Come to our dumb little Star Wars podcast.
Yeah, baby.
Anyone else have anything to add or talk
I
about?
think we're all good.
I
Yeah,
think that pretty
okay.
much
Yeah,
covers
I
it.
think that we can conclude this
specific.
is one of my favorite movies of all time. Excellent movie. I would say it's definitely one of the best movies of all time in every single area. Dialogue, writing, characters, plot, cinematography, the way the sets are, how real everything looks. It just really holds up today, and I think it is an excellent addition to not only the saga but movies as a whole.
And something I want to add is that episode 5 was also the first and most impactful thing of the big reveal, "I am your father" moment. Countless movies have tried to recreate similar things. It's
Yes.
never worked. It's never had the same impact. It didn't pack the same punch as in episode 5. And so it gave
Yeah.
us one of the best moments in cinema history, period.
There hasn't been as many movies like episode 4. Like episode 4 just blew up. It completely changed the way people looked at movies. And so going into this one, people were like, yeah, that was pretty revolutionary. This is the sequel to that revolutionary thing. Then they go, oh yeah, that guy, this is who he is. And boom, it's just like, like, that cannot be replicated. Nothing can
Yeah.
ever come close to that, ever.
I think because it's not like a one movie thing, it's they have like a lot of time to build up to like that big reveal. Like it's so it's so insane when you hear it. You're like, what?
It's unexpected. I mean, nowadays, it doesn't have the initial punch that it did.
But back then, it just sent ripples through the industry.
Yeah, I bet.
All right. So I think that we're done here. Do you guys think?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's be real good. We can talk for hours about this movie. We might as well end it here.
Yeah.
We don't
Pretty
want
much
it to
did
be
talk
too long.
for almost a few hours.
Thank
We
you to
went-
the 2 people watching this. Like I
we
said,
went-
probably me and Ryan.
Yep.
But
You know what, CJ?
yeah,
I think that we can go a little further. Let's go for 2.5 people watching this. And let's go for half of the life.
Whoa,
No,
whoa! Chill out,
that's-
chill out.
that's-
You know,
I'm going too crazy
the-
here.
gosh,
the
we gotta be
Canadian-
realistic here. Okay, we don't want to
sequel-loving
disappoint
Canadian
ourselves.
ginger counts as
Yeah.
half a person.
Okay. 3 people. 3 people. How about that?
Well, if you
We'll
count
do it for the
if you
start.
count him, then
Yeah.
Alright, yeah.
The 2.5 people we thought plus the Canadian equals 3 people.
The sequel-loving Canadian ginger.
He's half a person.
Canadian ginger. Yeah.
All right,
yeah,
I'm
we're
gonna
done.
end it here. See you guys
All right.
later. Stay tuned for the next one coming to you guys every Monday. See you later.
Always
On
stand
the
on
low
the
ground.
ground.
Yeah, don't do that Obi-Wan crap. Get on the low ground.
Yeah.
No, we love Obi-Wan.
Just like Qui-Gon said, Anakin, drop.